All right. Hello, everyone. We are live for another live podcast of the Social Selling Sisterhood. I am Lindsay Dollinger, and we are here today with Blair Critch. And I am so excited for you to hear from her. Her story is really amazing and super inspiring. Blair is a top leader and a millionaire with her company, which is like mind-blowing, like hashtag goals right there. And she also has founded another company to help women and men, I suppose, but mostly women in direct sales. And she just has all the tidbits. So Blair, welcome. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I help men in my network marketing business, but in my coaching business, I do only help women because that's
what I was
passionate. Well, I'm just passionate about helping women to have freedom of choices because I feel like sometimes women get stuck in certain situations in life because they don't have choices. And so that's just like one really big lifelong goal for me is to help all women to have choices. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I thought I caught myself as I was saying that because I'm like, literally the name of her group has, so Blair is also, yes, she's also the co-founder, of Blessed Mama Bosses, which we heard from Kelly last week. So Blair is the second half of the genius of that group. So anyway, Blair, tell us your story. Tell us how you got to here, because it is a truly remarkable journey.
Well, it's definitely a bumpy road journey, right? And I really believe that anybody that's probably had success has had some bumps in the road. So, but for me, I used to be a teacher like you, Lindsay. I actually taught kindergarten for a few years. And then I have my two boys who are now 17 and almost 15. And I was home for about 5 years. During that 5 years, my husband was doing really well. And so we decided to invest in a bunch of properties here in South Florida. And then that crash happened, right? Around 2008, everything came crashing down. But before that happened for us, it was like the perfect storm. We had a bunch of hurricanes here in Florida. People weren't able to increase or pay their rent. We had to increase rent because our insurance went through the roof here. And it was then that whole market thing happened. And my husband was in the mortgage industry. And it was just a lot all at once. And we had to file bankruptcy. And so everything that we had literally put money into, the stock market to real estate, in our savings, all came crashing down. And we went from having, this huge bank account to literally me having to count out cash at the cash register at the Publix, which is a grocery store, and put groceries back with a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. So I've been all over the place. And as we were rebuilding ourselves, I also found out that my husband had an addiction to pain meds and oxycodone. And so that was another thing where I was like, okay, we're going to I don't know if he's going to get through this. I need to figure out what I'm going to do to take care of our family in case he doesn't come out on the other side. And thank goodness he did come out on the other side. He's been, sober for many years now and did an amazing job. But that's why I'm really passionate about women having choices because, I didn't know if he was going to get better. And so that's really where my journey began with network marketing, direct sales. That was the springtime of 2010. And what happened was I just kind of fell upon this amazing jewelry company. I had seen somebody do an online party, power of Facebook, right? That was back in the beginning of really Facebook. And I saw an online party and I asked the girl if she could come and do one for me and my friends because I knew they would all buy it and I could get some free stuff because I didn't have any cash at the time. And she said, nobody's doing it in your area. You should think about doing this. And I was like, she's crazy, but maybe I'll just buy that starter kit and have one party just to get some free jewelry. And it turned into 8 people saying they wanted to host shows. 2 months later, I was making more money than I ever did in a month teaching. And my husband, being the entrepreneur that he is, was like, this might be really great for you this year. While I'm going through my stuff, you could be home with the kids. We don't have to put them in daycare. Just try it for a year. And I found that I loved being my own boss. I loved deciding when I was going to work, who I was going to work with, how much I was going to work, and really have no glass ceiling. And I went all in that year. I decided, let me see what can really happen. I was doing 8 to 12 shows a month, bringing in almost 6 figures. I ended all 4 years that I was with them, I ended right under $100,000. But for somebody who used to teach kindergarten in South Florida, that's huge. I mean, the most I ever made teaching was $30,000. So I was so excited about this industry. And I was with that company for almost 5 years. And then I started on my current products that I sell now. And honestly, they just changed my life and they changed my health. And I couldn't hide the fact that I wanted to share it with everybody. And so I decided to change companies. I also really loved the fact that it was residual. That was something I didn't understand when I first started in direct sales, because to be honest with you, I just didn't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, so when I switched over, now I've been with this current company for almost 7 years. This summer it will be 7 years. And I'm so
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And within the first 2.5 years, I hit Millionaire at this company. And I'll tell you guys how I did it. I changed a lot of things. When I left the jewelry company to come over to my current company, one of the things I said to a friend of mine was, I want things to be different this time. I didn't really know what I was doing last time. I didn't create culture on my team. I didn't create things that were duplicatable. You know, people didn't want to do 12 shows a month like me. I didn't have anybody else having the same success as me. I was like, I don't want to do it alone again. I want to really have people with me and on the journey with me. And she encouraged me to read books on leadership. She's like, read 3 books in the next month or listen to them or whatever before you really start to build this team. Like, you just joined, you've got the next 30 days, you're gonna be bringing on a ton of people. Read 3 different books about leadership. And I did exactly that. I bought one from Danny Johnson, Spirit Driven Success. Bought one from John Maxwell, and the other one was from Zig Ziglar. And I read all 3 of them in less than 30 days while launching a business. But it was really important to me. And I truly believe that between the fact that I found a product that actually worked for people, I made it simple and easy for people to duplicate. And I really understood leadership as not me telling people what to do or dragging people along, but sharing with them what could happen, sharing with them possibilities and opening their eyes to what could be, and then letting them decide for themselves. And also having boundaries, because I had no boundaries. It's not like there's ever a jewelry emergency. However, if somebody texted me, I was like on it, right? Like, I was so worried I was going to lose them from my team. And that came from a place of, limited belief. It didn't come from a place of abundance. So I feel like that was a big part of why I had success so fast with this company. And I also have to give credit to where credit's due. I mean, the product's amazing. The company's amazing. The compensation plan's great. But that whole, rallying people around me, I truly believe was because I changed the way I was viewing things. And I started getting organized. So one of the things in the very first 6 weeks that I was with the company, I met the CEO, the co-CEO, and he said to me, I said to him, listen, I ended that jewelry company with $99,000 last year. The year before, $98,000, and it's annoying me. I need to get this. I need to get these figures. And he said to me, well, if I opened up your calendar, would I see that you're organized? You have the things on your calendar that you need. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really good with calendars. He's like, okay, so what's on your calendar? I'm like, oh, I have all my kids' activities, when my husband's doing what, so I know, what I can work. And he's like, well, where's your work on your calendar? I'm like, oh, I don't need to put that on my calendar because I know I work, I'm working wherever there's free time. And he's like, no, like, you need to put on your calendar. When are you reaching out? When are you following up? When are you, working with the people who are new to your team? When are you working on your own personal business? He said the calendar should be the game board for your life. So if you glance at your calendar, you should easily see all the things that are most important to you, including your job, because you're telling me you want, like a business income, not a hobby income. If you want a couple hundred a month, maybe you don't need to put that on your calendar. But if you want to make 6 figures a year or, millions of dollars, then you do have to treat it like a business. And that was an aha moment for me. And that's when I actually taught myself how to use my calendar, how to time block, and even use highlighters. So do you want me to share all of that?
Yeah, please do. I'm over here taking notes. I'm like, okay, I got a question about, like, this is so much good. Yes, please share.
Okay, good. So Lindsay will give you guys, I'm sure you have show notes or something, Lindsay.
Yes.
We have a freebie we do for Bless My Bosses that we give people, which is my I created like a sheet of how I do this when I first started. So I basically decided everything was going to have a specific highlighter color. Okay, so the first thing I did was pink is for me, it's personal. So that might be my workout times, my devotion time, my reading. I still try to read 15 to 30 minutes every single day on whatever subject I'm trying to grow on. So that's pink, doctor's appointments, mani-pedi, whatever. And then yellow is for my personal business, with my company. And I make it yellow because it's easy for me to write things in, what I'm going to be doing during that time block. Then I use orange for my Bless My Bosses business. Then I use green for my boys. And I kind of have this like weird yellow, like it's almost a darker yellow highlighter. And that's for when I'm like team things. So, basically it's any shade of yellow means my personal business and my team. So by creating those highlighter colors, then I can see blocks of time, right? I can glance at my calendar for this week and see that I have time with my family. I have time with myself, with my own personal time. I have, yellow spots means I'm working on my business. I want to work on my business more than even my coaching business, right? So I need to make sure there's more yellow than orange. So it's just easy visually for me to see. Then in those time block spots, especially my yellow ones, I write in what I'm doing. And so I know like how much time I like to spend on reach outs and follow-ups, how much time I like to spend inside of Facebook groups, meeting new people. And then during those time blocks, I literally set a timer and I turn my phone on do not disturb. Now, I have a few people in favorites, like my kids, because some of you are getting heart palpitations right now. I know. You're like, what? You turn your phone on do not disturb? No, listen, my husband, my mom, my dad, my kids, that bypasses, right? If you put your phone on do not disturb and you have favorites, you can set it so your favorites ring in. So besides them, everything else, I took, notifications for Facebook, Instagram off my phone so it doesn't distract me. And when I set that timer, I'm focused on that one activity. And by having that moment, and I even visualize before I get started on that, what are the conversations going to sound like? Who am I going to get to serve and help today? And I come from that space that really gives me a focused time. Even if it's just 20 minutes, I do so much more in that 20 minutes than I do when I'm trying to do multiple things and fit. I love that this industry is a nooks and crannies kind of industry. People are like, you can fit this in the nooks and crannies. Yes, you can, but you got to know what you're doing in those nooks and crannies, right? Or else you're trying to do 15 things at the same time and it's not really going to serve or help anybody. So that is one of the biggest things for me is color coding for the things that are important, and then time blocking and really giving myself that time block. And even I'm as detailed even as what time in the morning am I going to be getting up? What time in the evening am I planning to go to bed? It doesn't always happen. What time in the evening am I shutting down my business? I have 2 times a day I check my email, so I'm not looking at it all the time. I have 3 times a day I check my messenger inside of Facebook, and 1 time a day I check my Instagram messages. So I'm not just looking at my phone all the time, because here's what happens. If you're inside of Facebook all the time and you're always looking, then what happens is you're never really getting anything done. So, setting that up the way that I have allows me to make sure that when I'm in Facebook, I'm doing income producing activities and not like getting lost in the scrolling world, right?
I love that. I just recently took all the notifications off of my phone. Like even for text, I don't get, and it has been like life changing. I didn't even know it was a thing. And when people had mentioned not getting notifications before, I was like, oh, like that's so scandalous. Like, what do you mean? Like, I have a team, I have customers, I have people that need me. But like you said, there's no such thing as anything emergency, right? Nothing that we sell needs fixed right now.
So I've never thought about taking off my text messages. That sound like that gave me like a little.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yep. No sound or anything. It actually really annoys my dad, but no one else has said anything. He's like, I texted you. I'm like, you should have called, which is kind of funny because it has forced some people to call me a little bit more. And I know some people really hate calling. But for me, especially when we're trying to make plans as a family or whatever, I'm like, just call me. Like, let's just call it up,
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that visual. So I'm like planning on taking some highlighters from school. Sorry, school, if you're listening to this. And totally doing this with my calendar because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is genius. Because I've color coded my like content buckets before to see like make sure everything's kind of spread out, but I never thought about doing that with my time. And I'm like, that's so good because I feel like, especially if you have a team and you're growing a team, we can spend so much time in that team business. Whereas, like you said, you have to be spending that time in your personal business or the team's not going to matter.
Right. And I've done that. Listen, I mean, I have made all the mistakes you can possibly make and learn from them. I find them all to be valuable because I've learned. But there have been times in my business that it's gone stagnant or even backwards. And that's usually because I'm spending too much time on the team stuff and not enough time on my own personal business. And, your team is going to copy what you're doing. So if they don't see you bringing in new people and helping them achieve whatever your bonuses are in the first couple of weeks, every company has them, right? Then they start to stop doing it. And so that's why it's so important. And it's really hard to lead if you're not leading from the front. So you got to make sure, it's like time and time again, anytime I say that, I always think of that visual on the airplane. You got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else. So,
right. Now when you chunk your time, I'm just curious, and you might not do this. Do you have a certain amount of time? Like, do you do like a 20-minute thing?
yes. So I do. So for me, I know that I like to spend in Facebook groups, for example, to meet new friends and gain new people to follow and to connect with on social media. I'll spend 10 minutes in 2 different Facebook groups every single day, Monday through Saturday for a quarter. And then I might change up the groups every quarter. If I'm not getting enough interaction, or I'm just getting bored in that group, or I just want to meet some new people, whatever. But I pick 2 Facebook groups and I spend 10 minutes in each every day. I spend 20 minutes every day doing reach outs, just like connecting with people and getting on their news feed and being part of their community and commenting and engaging. Spend another 20 minutes on follow-ups. I don't usually do them back to back. Usually it's like a 20-minute here and then a 20-minute there. And then I do put aside 20 minutes every day for Instagram, just to like kind of comment and engage before I drop my post. And listen, these are all on my calendar, but some days I have to take some things off. I have to realize, I don't have that time today to do this, so I'll take it off. But if it's set pretty much and I know what I'm going to be doing every single time I'm on, it just saves me so much time.
Yeah.
And I used to just be like, okay, what am I going to do now? Oh, okay, maybe I should do this. And yeah, it's so much faster now.
You have a Peloton, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This makes me think of how they just added that stacking classes feature. Have you tried that out?
I have not tried it, but when I was on the other day, she mentioned it, and I was like, "What's she talking about?" My husband's like, "You haven't done it?" Like I was so behind the times, but I'm not back to like full workouts yet.
Okay.
I've only been doing like 15, 20-minute classes.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned it, so you'll have to explain it to everybody watching.
Yeah. So I just did it for the first time yesterday because I'm also recovering from a wrist injury. So I stacked like 2 5-minute class, like something really small. But basically you can go in ahead of time and plan out your workouts for whatever your next workout's going to be. And you can click and stack different classes. So normally I would do like a 5 or 10-minute strength, and then like a 20 or 30-minute bike ride and a 5-minute cool down. But then I would spend time scrolling and like picking what I want, and it would take me 5 or 10 minutes. So like a 45-minute workout would actually take an hour, but now a 45-minute workout actually takes 45 minutes because I planned ahead of time. And like, that's exactly, I feel like what you're talking about here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is genius. This is like Peloton stacking.
Well, I'll tell you, when you just said that reminded me of something that Lisa Nichols said, the author of Abundance Now. One time I was watching her YouTube channel, and she said, I used to never time block because I thought it would be so constrictive, and I would actually not be able to still be creative and get my flow. And so I never did time blocking. She's like, and then I realized that was just a false belief that I was telling myself. And so I time blocked for 2 weeks. And she said, I got more done. I was more efficient. I was more creative because I knew I had this time set aside. And she said that her results were so good. And now she even names her time blocks in a positive way. So if she's going to be doing reach outs, she'll call it connecting with people to change their lives. And if it's workout time, she'll call it moving my body to gain a strong relationship with my muscles. Like, she's so specific and makes it so positive now because she's seen that the results are huge. So that just reminded me when you were talking.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'm gonna have to find that video because we're reading that book right now. So I gotta definitely, and you guys need to grab that book, by the way, Abundance Now. I'm only in chapter 1 and it's like awesome. Oh, what was I going to ask you now? So you do something with your team that I think is really cool. Would you mind to explain kind of the concept behind working Zooms and how you guys run those as a team?
Absolutely. So working Zooms, and some people call them work with me Zooms, working Zooms, whatever you want to call them. But they're basically just, we set aside an hour. We actually have like 10 of them a week for our team, which is amazing because other leaders have now stepped in and said, I'll run them too. But it's basically just showing them in that 1 hour block how to do the things that are income producing, right? So instead of just scrolling through social media or not knowing what to do. And the other really cool thing is they can hop on one of these and then they can recreate it and do it themselves every day. They don't have to be on with us if they don't want to, but a lot of people want community, right? It's part of why they join a network marketing direct sales company. So it allows for a community if you want it, and it allows for accountability. But what it really does is teaches you the income producing activities that you need. So we even time block those. Like we'll set a timer for 10 minutes and I'll show them how I do birthday messages. Then we'll set a timer for 8 minutes and we'll go through stories and we'll comment and engage in an authentic way. We'll set another timer for 8 minutes. We'll go on news feeds and comment, engage, like, and interact with people, our top 10 people maybe for the week. Then we'll set another timer where we're putting up our own post, right? Because now we boosted our algorithm on social media because we've been on and engaging. And then, so we just kind of walk them through, right? And each one of these time blocks is an income producing activity. They can now take these chunks that they've learned and they can separate them. If they work full time, I've had a lot of people say, I took what you taught me and I do the first 20 minutes before I leave for work. And then I do some of it during my lunch break. And then I do some of it in the evening, which is awesome. Some people take that 1 hour and they just recreate it themselves when they have an hour in the day. So it's really an amazing thing. And once you get comfortable at it, then you can then take that and create it for your own team. So like in Bless My Bosses, we have an amazing course called Network Marketing Accelerator. And in there, it's in one of the modules. And we teach them how to create their own working Zoom and then take it back to their team and start doing it with their team so that they can start to see the results too. So I really believe that no matter what product you sell, this works. And it brings community.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I know, I duplicated that for my team and my leaders on my team duplicate it for their people, and it's a nice way, like you said, to duplicate those income producing activities. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'm working my business because I'm scrolling Facebook. And I'm like, that is not working your business, like not at all. Yeah. And then you mentioned authentic, building your business in an authentic way. I love how you said that because I think, I know the huge stigma around network marketing direct sales, especially building online, is that being spammy and being salesy. So could you give us some examples of what you mean by building a business in an authentic way?
Yeah, well, I think there's multiple facets of that, but the number one thing is like, there's no reason to be Pamela. There's no reason to send cold messages. I mean, those of you that are watching this video, not just listening to it, you'll see like I have a really short hair right now. That's because I just went through a cancer journey. And during that time, I forgot how awful cold messages are. But like, it was so obvious that sometimes people just didn't take the time to go look on my news feed. And, one of two things happened. Either they didn't realize what I already sold. So like, I don't know why you're trying to sell me something I already sell. But the second thing is a lot of people would reach out to me and try to sell me something. I'm like in the middle of going through chemo. So they obviously didn't even take a moment to really see what was going on in my life. That's very different than somebody reaching out and saying, did you know the benefits of this oil? Can I share this oil with you while you're going through this? I would love to share that. That's authentic. That's like, I'm really worried. I know this product might be able to help you. Let me share it with you. That's very different than, hey girl, I wanted to tell you, I think you'd love this Facebook group that I started and I'd love to add you in. Like, I'm freaking going through chemo. I'm fighting for my life, right? So authentic to me means like you get to know that person. And I know Kelly said she already talked about CAP last week when you guys talked, but that CAP, we really came up with that CAP method of connecting with the compliments and commonality, asking open-ended questions, getting to their pain points, problem solving with their pain points, with your product, service, or opportunity, because we are both so sick of getting those cold messages. So, just stop and look at people and figure out what's going on in their life, ask them questions, get to know them, and then see if you can solve their problem with your product, service, or opportunity. Look at them the way that you would want to be treated, right? Instead of treating people like they're just another number. And you know what? Your product, service, or opportunity might not be right for them. I always give this story example of my husband is in real estate. He's a real estate broker here in South Florida. And last summer, with everything that was going on with COVID, he had this one client that was supposed to put his house on the market. It was like a really couple $1 million house. And he kept, putting Ryan off for pictures. And finally, my husband said like, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? And he said, actually, my wife's having this issue with her foot. We can't get in. Nobody can get us into a doctor. We're having all these problems. My husband called me and said, don't we have a friend that's a podiatrist at our kids' school who go to a private school? And I said, yeah. And so I sent him the person's name. He called that doctor and said, I've got this guy. He can't get anybody in. My husband got him into the doctor for his wife. She got her surgery a week later. And that guy said, Ryan, I will never go with another realtor but you. Obviously, she's got a couple months to heal. We can't even have people look at our house right now, but when we're ready, we're coming back to you because he helped them. He cared about them. So just care about people. I mean, it's really what it's all about, right? And so sometimes your product might not be right for them. I sell a vitamin supplement system, and sometimes it's not right for people. Maybe they're allergic to something in it, or maybe, they're already on something else, or their doctor won't let them be on it for whatever reason. Then I refer them to something else I know would help them or solve their need. So, that's where you really build a network, because guess what? Next time they have a friend that's saying that they're tired and exhausted, they're going to send them to me and be like, oh, Blair has a great product for that. So, it's really creating those authentic relationships. And then for your team, if you're authentic with those reach outs, with those communications, with creating those relationships, you're going to be the same way as a leader. And that's what people are looking for. They want somebody who's real, who's not going to just be like only talking to them because they're doing well. Right. And on our team, we value everybody. The people who bring in a couple $100 in sales a month are equally as important to me and my team volume as the people who bring in $80,000 a month. Like, nobody gets treated different. It's not, you can only show up to this training if you make XYZ. No, there are teams that do that. We will never do that because I want to show up authentically in all areas of my life.
Oh, I love that. And I love that story. Like,
yeah.
What a nice story,
right?
Yeah. You give without any expectation. And then, you're always pleasantly surprised at what the universe sends back to you. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Love that so much. Okay. So lots of our listeners and this will be our last question because I know we've been chatting for a while. Lots of our listeners or viewers, if you're watching this live, are working a full-time job right now while they're also building a social selling business.
Yes.
Give us like a tip or two. You already gave us a few time management tips, but maybe a tip or two on something that they can do to move their business forward or reorganize their business in a way that they can get to where you're at. Because I know everyone heard your title and are hearing all of, the things about your wonderful team. And you're like, okay, I want that.
Yeah. Well, I think the very first tip I would give you is know what you want. So Lindsay and I are both reading the book Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols. This is my second time reading it. But I love that she talks about you can't hit a moving target. I mean, I guess you could, but it's way more difficult. So when you're thinking about this, if you're working full time and you're trying to build something, then I want you to really think about, what do you want? And how does that look for you? Because you might think you want to bring in $6,000 a month, but that might require you, when you figure it out, to work maybe 20, 30 hours a week. And you might not want to do that. And that's okay. So you've got to really figure out first, what do I truly want? What will that require of me? What do I need to do to achieve it? And what am I going to have to give up in order to achieve it? And make sure all of that lines up. Because if it doesn't line up, guess what? It's not going to work. If one thing's off, the wheel will not keep going, right? It's like a spoke. If the spoke's off, it's not going to keep going. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is figuring out, what do you need to do to get there? So what are you willing to give up? Like I said, so when I first started, I'm a housewives girl. It's like a dirty little secret, yet everybody knows. So I love the housewives. I'm like, I am Blair and I love the housewives. So for me, that first year that I was in this business, my goal was to hit the top of the compensation plan by month 4. And if I had to, month 5. But we had some really big goals in our house. And so we sat down as a family. I told them what my goals were. Everybody was online, in line with it. We knew what nights I was going to be working. I did have specific nights off so I could give them my full attention. And then I gave up housewives. I gave up, and not only housewives, it was housewives with my girlfriends, because we had started doing this every Thursday night thing. We've been doing it for like 4 years, and I gave it up, and it was hard. And I got a lot of slack from my friends, and some relationships ended because of it, because, they thought it was ridiculous that I would not show up ever for that. But after 6 months, I was already making 6 figures. And guess what? I went back to doing it every once in a while. I didn't do it every single week anymore because my priorities changed. I realized what I could create, and if I could create that, I could show other people how to create that. And that was exciting to me. So I think that you got to be very clear on what you want, and then how do you get there? And then where is that going to show up on the calendar, right? Because again, you can say you want it and you can spend 20 hours a week, but maybe you're spending 20 hours a week on the things that don't even matter for your business. And then the second thing is, you got to be willing to talk to people. I mean, that's the number one thing. I love that we have social media. I didn't have that, When I first started with the jewelry company, it wasn't as popular as it is now to meet people on. But now we have this. We have Clubhouse, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have Facebook, we have so many opportunities, LinkedIn, we have so many opportunities to meet people. So you want to make sure that you're talking to people and that you're not just hiding behind, just connecting with people, but that you're getting to the point and you're sharing your product, your service, your opportunity with them and how it could serve or help them.
100%. So many people I talked to. I was actually just talking to someone last night, and she was telling me she was having trouble recruiting. And I said, well, how many people have you asked or shared your opportunity with this month? I mean, it's, we're almost at the end of the month. And she was like, one. And I was like, girlfriend. And she's like, and they said no. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's okay. I'm like, keep asking, keep sharing and being authentic. And so we went over, how to be authentic and all of that. So I have high hopes for her for sure. And I know she listens to this. So when she listens to this, she should have at least talked to way more than one person.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the thing.
Hard. If you only talk to one or two people, then it hurts more. So I look at it like a funnel. You've got to get as many people into the funnel as possible. And, your goal, listen, Facebook groups are golden. My goal is to make one connection in both the two Facebook groups that I'm in every single day, Monday through Saturday. So that's 12 new people I'm meeting every week. And so at the end of the month, let's just even say I met 10 people a week, right? That's 40 new people that I friend requested a month. And at the end of that, month, if I've met 40 new people, even if just 10% said yes to trying my product or ordering my product, that's 4 new people. 4 new people a month, that's 48 new people a year. So I think we're realizing that it's a numbers game, and it's actually easier when you talk to more people. It's more intimidating when you have a few people that you're talking to.
Agreed. And it can also be really disheartening too. And you're like, oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, I encourage you all to snag Blair's freebie that she mentioned, and we will link it all in the show notes and in the video captions and all of that. And really color code your calendar this week. Like, do it, even if you just do it for a week, just to kind of see, because I feel like there's so many times that we're like, I'm working my business all the time. And when you actually look at it, you're really not.
Right.
And like Blair said, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to decide, is Netflix more important, or is, reaching my business goals more important? And you can decide. It doesn't, if you're in it for a hobby, then it can be Netflix, but you have to make those hard decisions for sure. And I love how you pointed that out. Because a lot of people don't share that, they make it sunshine and rainbows, and you have to make choices sometimes for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, Blair, where can everyone connect with you? Tell us all the places, and we will, like I said, I'll link everything, but where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm at Blair Critch 2, the number 2. And then on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/sparklyblair, back from my jewelry days. And you can also find us for Bless Mama Bosses. You can find us on blessedmamabosses.com.
Love it. And like Blair mentioned, she has an awesome network marketing accelerator course, all kinds of freebies, all the things. So definitely check her out over there. Yes. Thank you so much, Blair. I appreciate your time and all your tips. I'm getting ready to go get my highlighters.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.